Hello everybody, it's Jamie and welcome back to another video. And today we'll be talking about the SS Iroquois, or more famously known as the USS Solace. Now, the Solace started off as a passenger liner built for the Clyde-Mallory Line in 1927. And she was built by the shipbuilders Newsport News Shipbuilding and was named the Iroquois. Now, like usual, we'll go over the specifications of the ship. Now, the Iroquois measured 124.7 meters long, 18.8 meters wide, and 6.3 meter draft. She measured 6,178 gross registered tons and was fitted out with 4 steam turbines, propelling into 2 shafts and producing a speed of up to 18 knots. And she was able to carry around 640 passengers plus 170 crew. Now, after her launch in 1927, the ship would have had not an eventful career, besides her grounding in 1936, coming off it with little damage to the ship and casualties. Now, the ship was chartered to transport American citizens from England back to America due to the war starting in Europe. Now, on a side note, in October 1939, the Navy Department in Berlin informed the Iroquois that they would possibly not make it back to New York on that trip, which then multiple Coast Guard ships would later meet the ship at sea and accompany the ship back to New York City. Crew weren't given specific details and believed that there was a bomb threat on board, but eventually the ship made it safely back to New York, with all 566 American passengers, except with a major seasickness. Now, on 22 July 1940, the ship was requisitioned by the US Navy and would be converted into a hospital ship and would be commissioned on 9 August 1941 as Solace with the identification AH5 and placed in the Pacific region. Just little over 5 months later, the ship was in Pearl Harbor when a Japanese attack occurred. Incredibly, a crew member on board managed to film the beginning of the attack and would capture the last images of the USS Arizona as she was being destroyed before their eyes. The crew of the Solace watched helplessly as the US fleet was destroyed. Now, the Solace launched a crew of motorboats to aid the USS Arizona and the USS West Virginia, pulling the crew out of the oily waters. The ship's damage control officer and around a half dozen ship fitters were part of the rescue party, who would spend 36 hours cutting through the capsized hull of the USS Oklahoma and managed to rescue 32 men. In the end, the crew of the Solace treated 25,000 people, with 70% of injuries being burn wounds. Now, this was just the first of many events. The Solace would be involved in 6 other operations up to 1945 and managed to stay clear of enemy sights. But in 1945, during the operation of Iwo Jima, 2 shells fell 91 meters away from the ship, but Solace came unscathed. Now, the ship has participated in the following operations: the Gilbert Island operations, the Marshall Island operations, the Marians operation, the Western Caroline Island operation, the Iwo Jima operation, and now the Okinawa Kunto operation. Solace would take on wounded on the morning of 27 March 1945 from various ships, and in the next 3 months the ship would evacuate 7 loads of casualties to the Marianas, and made her last trip from Guam to Portland via Pearl Harbor and San Francisco. She would arrive in Portland, Oregon for an overhaul and would be worked on till the end of the war. Now, when the overhaul was completed on 12 September, she was assigned to the Operation Magic Carpet and tasked with transporting homecoming veterans from Pearl Harbor to San Francisco, and was decommissioned on 27 February 1946 and laid up in Norfolk. Now going to her post-war career, the ship was stricken from the Naval Register list in late May 1946 and would hold 7 battle stars for service in the war. Now the ship was transferred to the Maritime Commission for disposal. The Turkish maritime lines were looking to increase the numbers of ships in their fleet to counter the flooding numbers of passengers waiting to cross the oceans, and would buy 6 ships from the US, one of these being the retired Solace. She would be bought by the Turkish and she would be renamed to Ankara. She was refitted with luxury suites and had 134 rooms for first, second and tourist class, and the ship would enter service in 1948. Ankara would be a grand addition to the fleet. Passengers favored the ship greatly, and during those days, working on the ship was considered a great plus and a sign of a solid career. People had favored the ship so much, they set their watches to the time of when the whistles of the ship would blow, and would be a legend in the 50s, and was dubbed the Rose of the Mediterranean. The ship would be chartered in 1961 by Swan Hellenic Cruises to tour the Greek islands in the summer season for the remainder of her career. Now in October 1977, the legendary ship was retired and Turkish Maritime Lines decided to sell the old gal for scrap, but would be dismantled and then towed for final scrapping in 1979. So that marks the end of this video, and there's so much in the ship's life to cover, but otherwise this video would have been too long in my opinion, so I picked out the most interesting stuff in my opinion again. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I very much enjoyed making it. Also, I'm also even thinking of adding maybe a new kind of series, talking about hospital ships in World War II, World War I and in other wars to show their hospital service. If you like that idea, please leave them in the comments. I also want to thank all the new people who have subscribed to my channel. That really means a lot, and every day I get sometimes to see so nice and kind words, comments. That really means a lot to me, that so much of you actually enjoy my content. So if you have friends though who like ships or ocean liners, please show them my channel. We are now trying to reach these 600 subscribers, my friends, and I know we can do that together. And if you have any thoughts or comments about this video, also please leave them in the description, because I really love reading your comments. So with that outro out of the way, guys, I wish you a good night or day wherever you are, and we will see each other on the next one. Goodbye.